Hi everyone. Today we are going to be going over a couple different views that Blender has set up already for you. We're just gonna go over them pretty quick, and we're gonna make a little animation. I figured since we're gonna be doing this, why not go ahead and make a little animation, something cool out of it. And that is what we are going to be making. Sorry for it being a little bit choppy because I got a bunch of other stuff running on my computer. So it's a little bit choppy. So we're going to be making it simple animation. But I figured we'd do that because it covers a few of these default setups that Blender comes installed with. So let's go ahead and get to it. I'm just going to go up here to File, and then I'm going to save this first, and then I'm going to go into New, Reload Startup. And let's see, we're going to go into Cycles Render. And I'm going to come over here. I had somebody say that you were unable, everything was too small. So when you come over here and you click, and a lot of these are open already for you. If you just hold down Control and click, it'll close them all for you, except for the one that you clicked on. And then I'm going to hold Control and hold my middle mouse button in and scroll up. And I'm going to zoom that right in here. And that works over here also. But I'm going to go ahead and close that for now. Press T. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get this scene set up real quick. So I'm just going to press Q and go into front. And then I'm going to press Tab and go into edit mode. And then I'm going to press G to grab the whole object. And I'm going to constrain it to the Z axis. And then I'm going to just press 1 and move it up. And then press Tab and then go back to object mode. Just like that. And now I'm going to press Shift A to bring up a new plane. And I'm going to press S for scale. And I'm just going to scale it out to be a little bit bigger than the grid. Just like that. And then I'm going to press Q again and go back into front. Then I'm going to press Control Alt 0 to line my camera up. Then I'm going to press N again. And I'm going to go up here to lock camera to view. Hold down Control and zoom this up just a little bit so you can see. And now our camera's locked to the view. And I'm just going to raise this up just a tad bit. So you're looking on. There we go. That's good. So I'm going to press N to close that. So tab there. And I'm going to press Q again and camera to get out of the camera. And I'm going to press Q and go into the top and press click on the light. And then I'm going to press G for grab. And I'm just going to put it over here in this corner. And then I'm going to come over here to this tab over here. And it's this little lamp looking thing, and this is the lamp, and I'm going to click on sun, then I'm going to click on use nodes, then I'm going to press Q, and I'm going to go into right, and I'm going to press R for rotate, and I'm going to rotate it up just a little bit like that, and then I'm going to press Q again and go back to the front view, and R again to rotate it up just a little bit more, and then Q and go back to the top and rotate it just like that. And I'm going to put the strength of this sun lamp to 7. Press enter, and then using my middle mouse button, I'm just going to rotate around in here. Alrighty, so that should be good there. I'm going to go ahead and grab this right here, and I'm going to move this back over. And I'm going to come over here. Actually, I'm going to come over here to the render tab. And then we will go into the properties, just like that. Oops, not that one. I apologize. I'm going to go into the user preferences. Sorry about that. And we're going to go over to system. And I'm just going to zoom this up just a little bit so you guys can see that. And you'll want to click over here on CUDA and select your device. Then we'll go back over here to 3D view. And now when you're over here in the render tab, this is where you change it to GPU compute. And now to be using your GPU. And let's see here, under performance, I'm going to change this to 256 by 256. And then close that. And then under sampling for the render, I'm going to go to 250 samples. And let's see what else here. Change the performance. And I think that is it for now. Oh, nope. We need to go to the output and click on this little deal right there. And I'm just going to save this to my desktop. I have a file set up already. And you could create a new directory in here. So I'm going to create a new one. And I'm going to call this tutorial 2. Press enter. And then I'm going to create another directory inside of that one. And I'm going to call this render or renders. And then I'm going to create another one for UVs. And then one more for materials. And we're going to go and save it in the renders tab and press accept. So now it's going to that file output. We're going to have overwrite and PNG and 16-bit color depth. And I'm going to put my compression up to 90. You guys can go ahead and set this to whatever you'd like, a JPEG or whatever. The reason why I'm setting this up right now, because we are going to do a little bit of animation. So let's close the output. And let's see here. It's just going to be a simple animation. And we are going to go now to, actually we're going to press Shift A and mesh and then add another cube. And we're going to press Q and go into our camera view. And we're just going to bring this cube over here, let's say in this corner, and let's press S to scale it, and let's scale it down just a tad bit, just like that. Alrighty, let's press Q and get out of the camera, and then let's go over here and let's go to the UV editor. Let's press N to get out of this. This is what Blender has set up by default for your UV editing, and the way you edit your UVs or create your UVs is you want to click on that object and press tab, go into edit mode. Make sure your object, everything is highlighted. You can do that by pressing A and making sure everything is selected. And then you just press U. And this is a simple UV unwrap, so you can just press unwrap if you'd like. I'm going to do Smart UV Project. So we went ahead and we UV unwrapped this. If you press A, you could select it all. You go ahead and you can select individual points here. I just wanted to show you guys a little bit of these windows here. So we got this unwrapped. So we're going to come back over here in this window and press tab and go back into object mode, and then come to this cube and go into edit mode. Make sure everything's selected. So press A and select everything, and then come and then press U and then Smart UV Project and just press OK. Just like that. Tab. Let's go back into object mode, and then let's go on the floor and then press tab, edit, U, and then you can just press unwrap since that's a flat surface. And let's tab, go back into edit object mode. Then we come back up here, and then we can go back into default. And let's see, for the floor, we'll come over here and we'll come to the material tab over here, and we'll add a new material. And we could call this material floor. And we'll give it, I don't know, maybe kind of a brown color. Come over here and let's darken it down a bit. Let's get a little bit more brownish in there. Then we can scroll all the way down and we can go to settings and then click on viewport color and grab the eyedropper and then click over here, and that way you can see the color in the viewport. Then we'll come to this cube, and we're already on the material tab, and we'll click on use nodes, and we'll call this cube 1, and we'll just change this to a simple color, I don't know, like a light blue, and then come down here and viewport color, click on the eyedropper and change that color, and then we'll come to this one and we'll click on new and call this cube 2, and we'll change this color to, I don't know, let's do some kind of hot pink or something, and come back down to our viewport color, click on the eyedropper, and there you go. And now you can see your colors inside of the viewport. There is something else that I want to show you guys. So we got one camera in this scene. So if we press circle and go back in there, and we press in, I'm going to press, oh, it's already pressed, lock camera to view. I'm going to uncheck that real quick, and I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so we can see. And pull that out just a tad bit. Let's see. I think that's close enough. We'll just click lock camera back to view, and we'll press in to close that, and then we will press Q and then go to camera. We'll press Shift A, and we're going to add 2 more cameras. So we'll just come up here and click on camera, and just grab it with your gizmo up here, and then let's go to Q, and let's go ahead and click on right, and then with this one selected, let's press Control 0 on your numpad, and since our camera is locked, it moved, we press Control because it moved this camera, and we're going to go ahead and get a different shot of the view, maybe right here, and then you just press Q and then camera, and then you're out of the camera. That's fine right there. And then let's press Shift A and then add 1 more camera. Grab it by the Z axis with your gizmo. Move it over here. Press R and then Z to constrain it to the Z axis. Then move it over there. And with this selected, press Control 0 again. And let's go ahead and get some kind of different angle on this. That looks good. Let's press Control and then camera. So we got 3 cameras in here, and the reason why I added 3 cameras, if you want to switch your view to this camera, you just hold down Control and then press 0 on your num keypad to go into that camera, and then if we're on that camera, so Control and then 0, so it'll switch to each different camera, and then you can press Q and get out of that if you'd like. Let's see. So now we are going to click on this camera, and we're going to press Control 0 and go into this camera, and we're going to go ahead and go to the animation tab. And you will see that this is different. This is your dope sheet over here. This is your timeline down here. Go ahead and set this back. Move that back to 1. And in this tab, we're going to go ahead and add our keyframes and stuff like that over here. We already have our render settings set up. There is one thing that I just remembered. Let me go ahead and enlarge that. The frame rate that we are going to be using is, we're just going to stay with the default 24 frames per second. Just for this animation. Most of the time I do 30, but for this animation we'll just use 24 frames per second. And let's see here. So let's press 0 or Q and then go to camera. And then let's press N and make sure lock camera to view is unchecked. Press N again to close it. And let's zoom in just a little bit. And let's click on this cube right here. Let me go ahead and get a little bit more room right here. Okay, we're clicked on this cube, and you got a couple different modes. You got the automatic keyframe, which you could click right here and do that. I don't hardly ever use this, but it is good. I'll show you what this does. You can click on automatic keyframe, and then you got automatic keyframe insertion using active key set only. We'll just make sure that this little record button's clicked, and we will just move this just a little bit. And then you'll see over here and up here in your dope sheet that it added a keyframe. And then we could, let's see, we're going to set the N to 98 frames. Then you can come over here and you could go to 96 like that, and we could move this all the way over here, and you'll see that it automatically inserted another keyframe for you, which is good if you don't want to mess with putting in the location, rotation, and all that stuff. This will automatically keyframe it for you. But for this, we're not going to do that. So you can press A over each one of these windows and it'll highlight them up, and then just press X and delete keyframes. So they are all gone. We want this cube to start right here. So I'm just going to press I. And since we're just moving the location, I'm going to hit location to add a keyframe there. And then we are going to go to frame 24. You could, if you use the right click, is what scrolls this timeline right here. You can move it over to frame 24, and that's 1 full second. And we're just going to move this over here, and then we're just going to press I and then hit location. That's fine. And then we will go ahead and right click and move over here to 48, which is another second. Takes it another second to get back directly in the middle here. And we're going to press I, location. And then we are going to go to 72. And we're going to move it all the way over to this side. And then press I, location. And then we are going to go to 96 and move it back to the middle. Press I, location. Alrighty, now we're going to go ahead and click down here. This moves it all the way back to the front. And we're just going to hit the play. Which you'll see that the animation is pretty good, but you'll see that it's slowly starts up and then it speeds up and then slows down. That's because over here in the graph editor, go ahead and pause this. You'll see that the graph editor got a curve in the graph here. And so it's slowly starting and then it speed up full speed and then it'll slowly come down. Let me go ahead, if you press shift and then space over any one of these windows, it'll full screen them. So shift and space. And I'll show you what we're talking about here. You'll see how it's got these bends. So it's slowly starting up and then it's going full speed and then it's slowly slowing down. And so on and so forth. We want this to be linear. So it's automatically it's starting at that speed, and then it's stopping and then starting. So there's two different ways that you could do this. You could press T and it brings up the interpolation modes. We got easying here, and then you got dynamic effects. You got a bounce, elastic, all that. Then you got linear and Bezier. What we want is linear, so press linear, and you'll see that it makes them now solid straight lines, and you'll see this V up here. There's no longer a curve anymore. I'll Control Z that. You could also press V and then turn this to the keyframe handle type to vector, and it does that same thing, and it just turns them into vectors. And now that is just for these handle modes right here to move the curve. Turns it into a vector curve. We'll Control Z that and then get back here to this. And the mode that you really want to put it on is the interpolation and put it to linear. So we will shift spacebar that back, and now we will play this animation back, and you'll see what I'm talking about. See how it's a constant animation now, and that's exactly what we wanted. So I'm going to go ahead and stop that now and then go all the way back to the beginning. And then for this cube, we're going to click on this cube, and we are going to press R twice. So RR. And I get what I call, actually, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. We're going to press I and then insert a location, rotation. We could do lock rot if you'd like. I'll just do location, rotation, scale for now. I normally use this. I would just do location, rotation. So lock rot. And then we are going to move this all the way to frame 96. And then we are going to press R twice to get what I call free rotate. And we are just going to rotate this around something, I don't know, like this. And then left click to get out of that. And then we are going to press I and location, rotation. And I just realized that I had automatic keyframing going the whole time. So that's okay because we inserted the keyframes there. You just want to be careful with that and make sure you turn that off. It didn't mess anything up for us in this one. So we'll click and go back to frame 1 and we'll start it out. And you'll see now that it's speeding up and slowing down. So we'll want to go in there and change the interpolation mode for this one also. So let's go back and let's Control Space over this window and let's zoom out here and let's press A and then A again, make sure everything's selected, and press T and change this to linear, and then press Shift Spacebar to go back, and then let's play. And you'll see that now it's not doing that speeding up, slowing down deal. It's just a linear motion. So let's press pause on this and let's go back. And we can go into the dope sheet, and you'll see this is where you have your keyframes, and you can click on them and select them and move them if you'd like just by holding G. You can move them. You can press B and you can box select them all if you'd like. Press A, highlight them all. In here, your graph editor, of course, you could always come over this window, press Shift Spacebar, then come in here, and you got your dope sheet, your action editor, your shape key editor. We don't have no shape keys right now. Grease pencil and a mask. We'll go back to the dope sheet, and like I said, this is just a quick explanation of this. We'll get into more complex animation and stuff later on in the tutorial series. So I'm going to press Shift and Spacebar and get back out of that. And we'll click on back on this cube. And with this camera selected here, actually we'll click on this camera. You have your little bounding box, and you'll see that now it's lit up a different color. So if I selected this, and then now I select this, now this camera is highlighted, and that's what this your layer panel, what is that? Panel and stuff. You'll see that I'm selected on this camera, and on frame 1, we'll come over here and we're going to put in a marker, and we're going to be switching camera views as we go along. So you could go to marker and click on add marker, or press M. So on frame 1, we press M, and we just added a marker, and you can come into the marker and you can rename this. So we'll come to rename marker, and we'll call this camera 1, and press OK. And now we'll press Control B, and you'll see under here that it says camera and then camera 1. So we just binded this marker to this camera. And then we'll come over to frame, let's go to frame 24. And then let's click on over here to camera 1. And then let's press M and add a marker. And then let's go in here and let's rename it. And we'll call this camera 2. We'll just keep it simple. And we will press, we'll go over here, we're on camera, that camera, we'll press Control 0 to go into that camera, and we'll press Control B to bind that camera, and you'll see down here that it shows that it's binded to camera.001, which is this one. And let's move to frame 48, and let's click on camera.002, and let's press Control 0 to get into that camera, and we'll press M to add a marker, and we'll come in here and we'll rename it, and we'll rename it to camera 2, of course. And then we will press Control B to bind that camera to that marker. And then we'll go back to frame 72, and we'll go back to the very first camera, press Control 0 and go into that camera. We'll press M, and we will go ahead and rename that marker. You can rename pressing Control M also, and we'll name this camera dot 1. Press OK, and then we'll press Control B, and make sure you're over this timeline when you press Control B to bind it to the camera. And then we'll go back to the very first frame and we'll press play. And now you'll see that it's switching between the cameras. So, and this, I know it's an awful fast animation, but it's just for demonstration purposes and to show you guys some things that you can do with this. And these cameras probably ain't set up in good spots, but I think it'll do as a good example to show a little bit about these default setups that Blender has in here. So I'm going to stop that, go back to frame 1. Let's see, so we went to the animation, we went into the UV editing a little bit. We could go into the compositing. We'll click on use nodes, and then we'll click on backdrop, and we'll come over here and just press Control Shift and click for a viewer node. Of course, it's not going to show nothing, but we'll just click right here and we will render one layer. And you'll see that it rendered it down here, and now you're up in the compositor. Scroll this down just a little bit, and you'll see that you're in the compositor. So if we press Shift and Spacebar and go into here, V is to zoom out and Alt V is to zoom in. If you hold down Alt middle mouse button, that's to pan around, to pan the background image around. To pan normally, you just press the middle mouse button in just like that, and to zoom in on the nodes, it's use your middle mouse button, and zoom out, use your middle mouse button. And in the compositor, I don't really know what we would do to this simple scene right here, but you can press Shift A to get your menus up here, and we could do, let's do a brightness contrast, and we turn up the brightness if we'd like, turn it down just a tad, we get up the contrast, let's up contrast to, I don't know, 0.5, just a little bit like that, and then we can press Shift A, and let's color RGB curves. Let's add a curves in here, and let's go to the red channel, and we can make this scene just a little bit cooler. And I think we'll leave it at that. And let's see, Shift A. Yeah, I think that will be fine for now. Just for a simple example, let's press Shift Spacebar and get out of that. We will be going into this compositor a whole lot more, trust me. This is just a simple example to show you guys. Because before you want to render your animation, you want to come in here and you want to do some of your compositing and stuff like that, to get it looking how you want it to look. You don't have to do this. You could do this in your whatever editor you use. But I like coming in here and I like messing with a little bit of the, let's go to the viewer node so we can see the viewer node down here. I like messing with some of your curves and your brightness, contrast, and stuff like that in here, and then taking it to my video editing software or whatever it is that you guys want to do it. You can do it completely here in Blender. And then over here, let me go ahead and hold Control. And over here in your post-processing, you'll see that make sure your compositing is checked if you want it to composite it while it's rendering. So we have that checked. Down here is your timeline. You can run through your timeline down here if you'd like. Let's see what else about this compositor. And make sure if you come in here in the compositor and you're using a viewer node, and the viewer node is what we use to, and by the way, I held down Control and then right clicked to go ahead and cut these nodes off. And then, so the viewer node is what we use to view it here in the compositor. So you'll want to have your viewer node selected, or if we click on it, you press X, it'll delete nodes. Then right here, if you just press Shift Control and then left click, it'll bring up another viewer node. And then you'll have all your nodes hooked up into a viewer node. But make sure that you, after you're done, you connect your end node back into your compositor or your composite node. That way it composites while it's rendering, because if not, you're going to be doing this render and then poof, none of your frames have the composite on it, and then you're going to have to start all over. So that's all we're going to do in the compositor for now, I think. We're just going to go back into default and make sure, go to save as, and let's go into tutorial 2. I haven't saved this whole thing. And I saved that out. You make sure that before you start getting too complex in your animations and stuff, you always save. But so we're back in the default mode, and if I just press play, you'll see everything that we did here. And I'm running at 25 26 frames per second in the viewport. So I guess with everything that I got running, that's pretty good. Going 29. So I think this is the basic animation. I'm going to show you how to do a play blast. You come down here and you have a OpenGL render active viewport. And I call this a play blast. So this is the fastest way to get a render out. And let's come down here. Let's make sure, let's go into our render tab. And let's come down here and make sure our output is okay. Set up there, and then we'll just do a play blast, and this should go pretty fast, but if it seems like it's taking a while, I will pause and then come back when it is done. Alrighty, so you'll see that it is done now, and you'll see that it says saved in this file right here. And what this is, the reason why I call this a play blast is because this renders everything in your viewport. So it's not gonna get your shadows and stuff like that. So if we come up into render and then play rendered animation, you'll see that it rendered out this play blast, and you'll see that it's getting them cameras and stuff in there because it's rendering the viewport. So that's the reason why you still see your light and everything like that. So I do these sometimes just so I can see what the animation looks like. And then if you want to go into your final render, I'm going to press exit here and go back into the viewport. You want to go into your final render. You'll want to come down here and you want to change your sample settings. You'll want to change them. I don't know if you want to do 1,000 samples per frame or something like that. For this test animation, 250 is fine. Actually, it's a little bit more than what I need for this. You'll want to go ahead and change your dimensions. You'll want to change this to 100%. And you could render this inside your image editor or do a new window. It's totally up to you. If you render inside your image editor, you can't do nothing else in here while it's rendering. You could do new window. It's just totally up to you and what you prefer. So I think that is pretty much all I wanted to go over with these. And remember, like I said, these aren't super in-depth tutorials on these. We'll get more into that, and I said in a previous video that I feel that while we are working and modeling and stuff like that, I feel that it's better learning experience than just coming in here and showing you guys each different one of these separately. So I think that is all. I showed you how to do a play blast, or what I call a play blast. The only thing now is to do the final animation. And if you just click render, it's going to only render out that frame that you're on. So you need to make sure you click on animation and have all your stuff set up over here as far as your resolution and all that kind of good stuff. You could press Z and you could see what it looks like rendered. That's what it looks like rendered under 10 samples. To see what it looks like in the viewport, you could switch over to this camera view and see what it looks like there. That camera view, so on and so forth. So press Z and go back into solid. But that is it. So we'll just view this one more time to show you how that would look once it's rendered. And I think that's it. Please like and subscribe for tons more tutorials. Thank you and have a great day.